Hi, welcome back. Spoilers again. Just remember that. Okay.
Spoilers.
Hello, everyone. We're back. Johnny, hit it.
Hey!
Woo! What's up? What's up?
Hey, everybody.
So
Hi, how's
Johnny
it going?
is still employed.
Johnny's still here. It's been a month. We're
It's been
back now.
a month. Woo! What a
I
month.
hope you
What a
missed
month.
us. I hope you missed us.
Yeah,
I
it's
hope you
been a
missed our
while.
voices and our chaotic reviews of movies, spoiler full and everything full, you know.
I
We're
hope
just
the memories
ready to
of
rock.
Emperor Palpatine are far away and behind us
Oh man,
Yep.
that's right.
Yes.
as
Palpatine
we
was with
focus
us.
on new dictators to this.
That is true.
this day.
From one dictator to another. Did you guys enjoy your little break?
I did. It was a
indeed.
nice and relaxing time. Didn't have to think about schedules. Didn't have to think about, like, what are we going to do next and stuff like that. It was nice to focus on other things. But that being said, I'm very happy to be back. Tim, my buddy.
There was this great calendar I saw that was like a visual of you see the calendar and then it sort of like just melts away towards the end of December, beginning of January, kind of a
Yeah.
blend butter, and then it comes back. I
Yeah,
thought that
yeah.
perfectly encapsulated.
So out of the butter we rise,
Yes.
and we're straight back into business. There's no mucking
Taking
around
form.
here.
No.
Yeah.
look at that.
Unfortunately, this movie that we've seen came out in the US in November, but since it's a small release, it took a while. It took a while to get to the Eastern Europe and the Balkans.
Took a while
and
to
where we
make
are.
the rounds.
Took some
Make it right.
time.
But now it is in cinemas here, so we pretend like it just came out. And we watched Jojo Rabbit.
Jojo Rabbit.
Jojo Rabbit.
From our good friend Taika Waititi. Now, this movie is about a little boy living in Germany at the end of World War II. He is a proud member of the Hitlerjugend group. And unfortunately, he is hurt, so he cannot be conscripted into battle. So he survives in his little village, which I think is close to Berlin, because towards the end, I was a little bit confused.
Oh,
but
yeah?
it's a little German village at the end of the war, where he lives with his mom. His dad is fighting somewhere, and he has a imaginary friend, Hitler, played by Taika Waititi himself.
Tiki Waititi.
And his ideology and his world turns around when he finds out his mom is hiding a little Jewish girl. Well, not a little. She's older
His
than him.
world
But
turns upside down.
yeah, exactly. It's like the 90s. The trailer.
Yeah, the Fresh
An
Prince of
ordinary
Hitlerjugend.
Just living his life, but one day, it's
In
a
a
Jewish
world.
girl in his attic now. So yeah, and then that's pretty much the movie.
In a book that'll change the world.
I'm so glad those trailers are.
Change the world.
Speaking of which, I don't want to segue way away from the conversation, but
Whoa,
I
what
did
do you wanna
hear
say?
I did hear the narrator come back in a few trailers. Didn't describe anything in the trailer, but he, read the title.
What was it? What was the movie?
Oh, dude, don't I don't remember.
Okay, but was it like super like the tentpole movie, or was it like just some random?
Oh,
Like,
now you're giving categories to it. Now I
trequel.
can't.
Okay,
Ooh,
all
I
right,
don't know.
fine.
I don't know.
Doesn't matter. Anyway, Jojo Rabbit. I want to
Jojo
ask
Rabbit.
you guys, what was the first Taika Waititi movie that you guys saw, or when did you get introduced to this director?
Phil, go first.
Yeah,
Rag
Phil.
Thornarok.
Really?
Yeah.
You haven't seen
Thankfully.
anything previous to it?
I've heard of
no.
Hunt for the Wilder People, but I never got to see it until I watched the Ragnarok in,
Did you watch
whenever the
it?
movie came out.
Did you watch Hunt for the Wilder People?
Yes.
Yes.
That was a great
We
film.
did. It's a fun movie.
Did you watch What We Do in the Shadows?
Yes, I wanted to say
Oh,
that
yes.
was the second
Didn't-
movie that we watched.
Didn't we watch that together, though? I think we did.
Could be.
did,
I was
me
like
and Phil.
obsessed with that movie. That was like one of my favorite movies of that year.
It's
Man,
good. It's
I love
good.
that movie. I think it's amazing.
Hey, we're
documentary.
werewolves, not swearwolves. Come on.
Yeah.
And Sweet Peter.
And sweet Peter, would you come up to the council? No, okay. Here's a chicken.
Okay, so there is that document. Right, there is that mockumentary that is What We Do in the Shadows, but they did make a TV show out of it. Right?
They did. I didn't watch it though. I didn't
Oh,
watch
I
it.
haven't seen
I didn't
No.
either, but I did watch a clip that someone sent me with Wesley Snipes in it.
Really?
Wesley Snipes is in that.
I had no clue.
Yeah, he's like, it's like, like through Skype, like the Vampire Council is talking to Blade through Skype.
The character.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The Blade, the character. Okay. I might have to look into it. This sounds
So, Tim,
interesting.
what other movies did Taika make that I might not be aware of?
Yeah.
Or our listeners?
I got introduced into What We Do in the Shadows, and then I remembered a movie of his that came out 2007 that I watched. I didn't know he directed. It's called Eagle vs. Shark.
Mhm.
It's got
Oh, yes.
Just a quick recap. What We Do in the Shadows is a mockumentary about vampires living in modern day who have been
In New
alive
Zealand.
for 100+ years.
Yeah. They're like from original places, like whatever, Romania, but they're living in
Romania.
New Zealand. It's
Yeah,
pretty funny.
yeah.
And they're
Of course
from
they
different
are.
also ages, like not ages, but different times as well.
Yeah.
Like
So
I
you
think
got some
Taika Waititi.
who are young, like
Yeah.
70 years old, and some like Sweet Pita who's like 600 years old.
He's one of the OGs.
1,000 years old.
By the way, What We Do in the Shadows, it was a short they did in 2005. Anyway,
So he did.
Oh,
That's right. He
okay.
did the short, and then they did
Yeah.
a full length.
so he did a Eagle versus Shark, which has got
not heard of this.
our good friend, what's his name, Jermaine Clement playing in it.
Oh,
It's like an
Jermaine.
indie kind of romance kind of movie. I remember watching it in Belfast.
Tim,
and
did
then-
Taika Waititi have anything to do ever with Flight of the Conchords, or is this just a crossover? With
He directed a few episodes, and he's in it as well.
I love that show.
Kosius.
Yes. And then I think he did Boy, which is something very similar. It's, well, actually, the genre of this movie is kind of remind me of Boy. It's basically a coming of age story. He does that really well, mixed with kind of European tradition, I would say, of tragic comedies kind of thing, where the setting is sad and the situation is sad, but you kind of use comedy as I don't know, like therapy, kind of thing. It's like you
Yeah,
laugh and you
to-
cry kind of movie. I'm used to that, like in Serbia or like the Czech school, like the Prague movie school is really based on that. Like a lot of that is you're laughing with with people's troubles, I guess. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I think this kind of fits in there, mixed with his weird sense of humor, like his quirky kind of ad lib jokes. I would say that I would characterize this
Yeah.
movie. How would you characterize this movie, Jacob?
Jojo?
Like, how would you describe as far as like genre or whatever?
It's really amazing because I think this movie does a beautiful blend of comedy. It's a comedy that turns into a serious drama film,
Yeah,
But
it
still-
also does.
which I think is great. Yeah.
There's like a big jump between really realistic and then it just goes really absurd.
Yeah, I think it reminds me a little bit the genre of correct me if I'm wrong, but sort of that almost fantastical vibe of who is that director that I haven't seen many films from?
Okay, any
Who
director?
is this director? Who is he?
Wait. He's done
David Lynch.
No. He does
No.
he did
David
a
Cronenberg.
movie called Budapest Hotel.
Oh, Grand Hotel
Oh.
Budapest.
Yes.
Grand Hotel Budapest.
No, I
yeah,
said it correctly. You said it incorrectly.
that was the Asylum film.
But
Grand Budapest Hotel. Wes Anderson, you mean?
Yeah, Wes Anderson. But you know what I'm saying? Like it's
It's
sort
the
of
Grand Budapest Hotel.
Oh, you're right. That's right.
Yes, we covered this. It's that sort of feeling where it blurs the line between quirky and fantastical and realistic.
I guess.
You
And
kind of
majestical.
never are 100%
Yeah.
sure in what kind of a world you are, but that's what makes it a little bit more timeless, less confined,
yeah.
very matter-of-fact world.
I mean,
The
it's a
thing-
movie that is very. It's a lighthearted, heartwarming, tragic movie.
Lighthearted? I don't know.
Lighthearted,
like-
I wouldn't say, no. I would say that, again, it's that cross that you go from, yes, lighthearted at the beginning, where it's blended with some very serious circumstances. But again, it never crosses over to the point, at the beginning at least of the film,
Yeah.
where it feels extremely dark. Like, I think the whole movie, for me, felt like I was always expecting something to happen that was very heavy, and or at least in the sense of a tragedy.
Yeah,
But
like when it's gonna hit. Yeah.
Right, but I think that there is that element, later in the film, but it's a dramatic move in the picture, which I think is really cool.
And also, it's interesting that some characters are super caricature, like they're really bizarre and like what to do and the world
they're all
surrounding
like that, yeah.
them. Like it's really fantastical, but some are super based in reality. Like let's say his mom, played by Scarlett Johansson, there's nothing like she is. Maybe how she looks and how she acts sometimes, but she's really kind of based in real world. While someone like the Nazis in the camp, like the lady, like anything she does or anything she says or anything, it's just like pure like madness, quirky comedy thing.
I want to say that the movie is never without hope. That's what I wanted to say, which is a very different genre than a film that ultimately ends up being hopeless. That's what I'd say.
Like the Untergang. With
exactly.
It's so refreshing to see a World War II movie that has color, like full color.
Yeah. No, you're right. Everybody always just starts putting all this desaturation in all those movies. So, I think after Saving Private Ryan.
Yes, exactly. Everything's just like
because like the idea for Saving Private Ryan was that this is the first time they did this, pretty much. Like essentially, this was a creative decision that they did on purpose to make it feel like it was the overcranked World War II documentary footage that the people who are on the at the zone where we're filming in the zone at the zone we're actually recording, and to give that kind of effect of that kind of documentary feel, and then every movie after that
like didn't Spielberg like watch old documentary? Like he even shat. He even shat so long. He even said shutter speed. I want to say set and shutter speed together. You shutter.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more like documentary style. The shutter speed.
That's his speed in the toilet.
Shutter
speed on the day and what he ate.
Yeah, exactly.
Janusz.
So Tim, I have a question for you.
Oh, is Janusz doing it? It's Janusz.
For Saving Private Ryan, yeah, for sure.
I think my internet's slow. I think I'm a little behind.
Janusz the shitter. Sorry, no, Janusz is a great. No, sorry, Janusz.
I'm gonna cut that clip, and if I ever meet Janusz, I'm gonna show it to Tim, my friend Tim. He really admires you.
The show, and ask you, Tim, as the host, and as being a more Taika Waititi, having a bigger history with him. Having seen more films. My big question for you is, what were your expectations going in?
That's a good one, yeah.
And sort of how, did you have any sort of sense or meter watching the movie unfold and kind of wondering, where is this going? Or were you purely just, going along with the film? I mean, we were all going along watching the movie, but I'm just asking, did you have any expectations in the tone and direction while watching the film?
I think my experience was really healthy. I don't know how better to describe it. I really didn't have that much expectations. Like, everything I've seen from it is absolutely, it's sometimes you find a director or someone or a creative person that you are very on the same level of comedy or interests or just whatever. You're on the wavelength, and he's one of them. So, but it's not, I think I've learned before, like, remember when we talked about Edgar Wright? I love Edgar Wright. I love Spaced. I love the Cornetto trilogy. I really love
Baby Driver.
Scott Pilgrim, and I was really looking for that's what I say. I was really looking forward to Baby Driver, and I hated that movie so much, and I was really looking forward. So I think after that experience, me kind of hyping things up, I've learned to control it. So I was like, oh, it's gonna be fun. No matter what it is, maybe it'll fall. Cool. It will be better or worse than the other movies, but I'm just going to go see it. And I kind of, as soon as it started, like 5 minutes in, I was getting the vibes, and I just really enjoyed watching the movie. Through the dramatic moments or through the comedy moments, everything was like a pleasant experience to me that are really nice going to the cinema experience.
What about you, Phil, with that aspect of expectations and
the expectations,
watching it unravel?
Well, now that I know, because I watched, I only saw Will the People, I saw What We Do in the Shadows, I saw Reconnaissance.
the main three
Thor
ones
Ragnarok.
that people know.
The main three ones that people know. I guess I just didn't, I didn't have any expectations, to be honest. Like I saw the trailer and I was like, I don't want to think about what I saw in the trailer because I don't want to, honestly, I don't want to have my expectations changed. So I don't want any expectations. So
maybe if I rephrase it, like sort of not so much expectations, but sort of did your feelings of what you might have thought the movie was going to be change while watching the film?
Well, I think at the beginning, didn't know it, like I knew what it was about, but I didn't get the vibe until that beginning where he's talking in the mirror, and he's trying to hype himself up. Then Hitler shows up and gives him a good old fashioned, Hi Hitler.
Yeah.
And
yes.
The hype up, the pre-Oprah hype up.
Yeah. And then after that, I'm like, okay, I'm watching this now. I'm I'm ready. I'm on board. Let's do it. Okay. And then the movie keeps going, but then at a certain point, like the whole thing, once the girl is introduced in the film.
Oh, by the way,
my expectations.
Phil, can you give spoiler alerts to people?
Hi, welcome back. Spoilers again. Just remember that. Okay.
Spoilers.
When the girl is introduced, then I was thinking, oh, okay. Because I was throughout the entire movie, before that, it was basically kind of life in this village and seeing how these people are so fanaticized and, brainwashed to follow their Führer. And I thought that it was going to be isolated like that. And I thought it was just going to be on the German perspective. And then we're going to, I don't know, some wacky hijinks is going to go on here. It's going to be satire. And then when that happened, I thought, okay, she's probably going to be a Jew. Because we were talking about Jews, the entire movie has that whole thing about like all the Germans, well, the German propaganda, always.
I actually thought the movie was going to take place only at the boot camp. Well,
me too. That too.
Well,
and I
the
thought
trailer was a little bit. It wasn't giving the wrong. Okay, so here's the thing: like movies like this. Sometimes the marketing team really doesn't get the point, or they're trying to trick the audiences of showing it like a different movie so more people go see it, or sometimes just don't understand it, they don't know how to market it. And I think they got the point of the wacky comedy across in the trailer, but the thing is they only used footage from that. So any sort of exactly like Wes Anderson kind of comedy. Oh, they're running. Oh, he shoots, the grenade blows up, and like they used so many shots of his little chubby little friend. What was his name?
Yeah. I don't remember his name.
I loved him,
but he
was so good.
Can't die.
He's like, oh, he's so
adorable boy.
Man, I think he was probably maybe my favorite character. Maybe
he was amazing. I loved him, and he's just like, I think Yorkie. That was his name. Yeah,
I love him,
and it's just his thick English accent was so cute.
And he's like, I have this girlfriend and she's a Jew. He's like, oh man, that's so cool. You're getting a girl. Anyway, I have to carry this rocket.
And on the back is like half of his uniform is missing and he's all bloody.
Man.
But
that reminds me of some other comedies from something.
So how did you guys feel? Yeah, I wanted to ask you.
Anyway, I was going to say, I just wanted to say, I want to finish my story here. I'm not done.
Finish your story, Philip.
So the girl Jew.
Wow, amazing description.
I'm the best at this.
Great, Phil. Good job.
I've chosen a subject that may lead us to an unforeseen circumstance. So I apologize.
Let us move on.
I apologize.
Honestly, I don't know anybody's name except for Jojo because that's everybody calls him Jojo. So
well, the girl's name was Elsa.
Oh, of course, Elsa, the princess of Andalusia or wherever that was.
Exactly.
Go on.
Captain K was Sam Rockwell's character.
Oh yeah, Sam Rockwell. See, I was just gonna call him Sam Rockwell though.
That's okay. We can do that.
When she showed up, I thought, oh, is this going to be then? It's going to be like a Boy in the Striped Pajamas. Have you ever seen that film?
No, what's that?
Boy in the Striped Pajamas is where a little boy from Germany, Nazi boy, meets a Jew boy who's actually in a concentration camp, and they become friends. And I thought that was, and I was like, okay, it's going to be that kind of a thing. But what I was happy about is that it wasn't what I was initially going to expect it was going to be, and I was very happy about that.
That's good.
There we go. Carry on with talking.
So Jacob, let me ask you a question.
Please.
So it's been it's 90 years. It's going to be 100 years almost in a couple of years since World War II. I want to know when did you it's an interesting subject, and it's a movie that was made so many years after it happened. And what I wanted to do is choose a companion movie that was made right after the World War ended and see the comparison between, when it's still fresh in memory.
Yeah.
And, all the horrible atrocities concentration camps and all that stuff was fresh in people's mind. And compared to now, almost 100 years later, when you make a movie, things changed. I found a better movie, a better companion movie. But I'm interested, when did you find out about World War II? Do you remember? Or what was the first movie that...
World War II?
Yeah.
It's a great question.
Did you remember Hitler and Nazis and that kind of thing?
Indiana Jones.
What's
Indiana
funny?
Jones. Oh,
one of my earliest. Oh, you're right. Indiana Jones. That was definitely a big World War II film.
Is Hitler in Indiana Jones?
Heck yeah, he is.
Man. He is, man. In Berlin, the Lion's Den.
Oh,
I want to say that movie. Every time I say Berlin or hear Berlin, it's all I think of is Berlin, the Lion's Den.
Yeah, it's like the book burning, and then he signs the journal, right?
Yes.
Is that? Yeah, that's the camera.
Yeah, that was almost like a parody.
Yeah, played by Taika Waititi's father.
yes, the connection. Do you know what's funny? World War II, interestingly enough, for me, my sort of remembering of how I sort of heard about it first is I don't remember the details. I'm sure, we all learn about this in school. We learn it from our parents, family. We hear about this, and we kind of forget when we first learn about these huge historical events.
Yeah,
or
that's
even
a big
cultural
one. It's
events.
a big one
because it's giant, right?
Yeah.
But I have just sort of an array of strange connections to World War II. I remember obviously growing up playing the video game Return to Castle Wolfenstein. So
yes,
that's it's such a bizarre connection, but it is something early memories from learning about sort of the World War II in pop culture, video games and films. I remember another memory that always pops up when I think of World War II and Hitler is back in middle school. I remember a friend of mine, his name's Andrew. He was reading a book in class during study hall. I was like, hey man, what are you reading there? I was like, it looked like an old book. You know those books that are they look 20, 30 years old, and they're very the pages are totally yellow and the whole cover is just beaten up. And,
rented from the, biblioteca from the school or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or you found it at your grandmother's bookshelf.
It looks like a Pulp Fiction novel, but it's not. Yeah. And those books, you always think those are super boring. They probably,
I'm expecting you to say he's reading Mein Kampf.
Yeah, well, listen. and I'm going what book is that you're reading? And he's like, this is the biography of Hitler.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, interesting. I'm like, so, can you tell me something that you're learning so far? And he goes, yeah. He goes, listen to this. Did you know that Hitler wanted to be an artist before he became, this political figure and then the dictator? And for some reason, that stuck in my head forever, because that was when I learned that he wanted to be an artist, and made me think about the perspective of this
made you fear for yourself.
Oh, he was.
Anyone who wants to be an artist is a potential Hitler.
The theory goes right that he, one of the theories is that because of the rejection that he experienced. I mean, obviously you can make up whatever you want.
Yeah.
From becoming or aspiring to be. By the way, there's a great quote from that book I was reading that I mentioned a couple of episodes ago, which was the War of Art.
Okay, yeah.
And there was a great quote. Yes. The quote was something like, so the book, The War of Art, is a book about fighting this feeling of resistance that comes up when you want to create. And the resistance is this manifestation of the things that show up in your life that stop you from making what you want to do. So distractions, right? Instead of working on your craft or your project, you go and distract yourself. You play games, you get busy, you do other things, right? And I love the opener in that book because he says something like, Hitler was the prime example of giving into resistance because he gave up painting and started World War II.
That's terrible.
That's like, it's like, oh, it's like basically like, this painting is too hard. I'm just going to go invade Poland.
Yes, he was saying it was easier for Hitler to start World War II than it was for him to finish his paintings and his career as a painter. And I love that illustration.
It's definitely an exaggeration of the issue, but sometimes it does feel like that. Sometimes, you feel like you just want to invade some Poland instead of.
I mean, obviously, the writer was using that as a, like you said, exaggeration to make a point, but I think it was brilliant.
That's hilarious.
Opener.
It's great.
I thought the kid was going to say that Hitler had one testicle.
But isn't it true?
No, he had 4.
That made it into the movie. Did he say 4 or 3?
4.
It was Steve Merchant, right? No, wait. It was Steve Merchant.
Steve Merchant, yeah.
Yeah. Steve, like that's when when we were looking at the opening credits, I'm like, Steve Merchant's going to be in this.
And then the third memory that pops up always for me was, actually I have 2 more and I'll be done. I'll let you guys continue.
No, yeah, go ahead. That's what I asked you.
Yeah, was that in history class in the States in Indiana, when we were taking world history my sophomore year, so that's second year of high school, I remember my teacher, I had an awesome teacher, Mr. Boudreau was his name, and he actually, while teaching World War II, because that was a huge portion, obviously, World War II that you learn, when we got to the Holocaust, he basically sort of made us watch the footage that was released in America during the time the Holocaust was taking place.
I think it was like after, right, when they liberated people, right?
Yes, sorry, after. You're totally right. Yeah.
I don't think there's any footage from actual.
You're totally
Germans.
right. Absolutely. And it was after, and they showed this, I think, in theaters, across the country, to sort of make the nation aware of what happened, after World War II and what happened to the Jews. And there was actually footage of, I think they even had people walking through the now captured concentration camps.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure this is famous footage, I think, today. But it was the first time I saw that footage, and
how old were you? What was
second year of high school? So it must have been 14, something like that, 15. And I think it was great that our teacher sort of made us watch that. And I remember distinctly, seeing the horrors of the aftermath, and they had even like the mass graves and things like this, and they explained as well in the video, because it was video from the time, right? So they're explaining like, this is what happened, and this is where they, were tortured and cremated and things like that.
Because no one knew about it. Everyone knew about the concentration camps. Besides, people who, I'm pretty sure there were leaks and, spies and all that stuff. But I think the general public didn't know what was happening in the concentration camps.
Yes.
Until the world was over. Like they knew people were working there. They were sort of prisoners, kind of slaves, and they were worked to death. But all the systematic killing and all that stuff, that wasn't for the public.
And so I had a lot of respect for our teacher showing that, because he told us in class, he said like, it's something that he said, even if this is uncomfortable or it makes you feel depressed watching this, it's like it really is necessary to show this stuff, because he says that a lot of teachers, and I guess what he noticed over the years of teaching, because he was teaching for 30 years, he said that teachers sometimes kind of shy away from that stuff. And he says that the newer generation of kids are kind of not realizing how serious and how tragic these things were. So I appreciated that, and that's something that always stuck out to me.
He's doing the good work. Otherwise, you get Holocaust deniers and flat earthers.
Exactly.
Oh man, no!
All these.
Please no.
I'm sorry if you're one of the listeners that you're one of these people, but
and then my final memory of World War II is
Stop burning them.
This was also in school, and I remember we were sitting in some kind of I think it was a history class, but it was some kind of a event. I can't remember what was happening, where there was a lot of different age groups in a classroom from different grades. You might have someone from 10th grade, someone from 6th and 7th and things like that. And I remember the history teacher was talking about something and saying like, and then the Holocaust happened. And then this one kid who was, I think like in 6th or 7th grade, he was like, what is the Holocaust? And I remember the whole room was like silent, and we're like, because he was so weird, because he, you would have heard about it, you would have learned. Was he homeschooled? At that point, maybe he was. Maybe he came from homeschool,
or maybe he just had a bad teacher. Yeah,
Yeah. And I just remember it was so weird and bizarre that moment because everyone, even the history teacher, was like, he couldn't believe it. He was like, you don't know, what happened. And he was so shocked because, this is one of the things that sort of you early on learn about because of its huge significance, right? So I always remember that kid, and I felt both bad for him, but at the same time, I felt I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that he didn't know at all anything about it. So those are my
good
stories.
Thing he knew. Well, thank you, Jacob, for sharing.
Thank you.
Stories.
Yeah,
I was asking because. Oh, sorry, Phil.
Okay.
Did you want to say something?
I mean, yeah.
Go ahead.
I wanted to say that Jacob and I watched 1917 the other like last month during our break, so we sadly are not going to talk about it in this episode at least. And we were just talking about how how soldiers kind of had to live through these sorts of events. And I don't want to talk about we don't have to talk about World War II in general, or World War I in this case that I'm talking about right now, but interesting little thing that just like Jacob, he had these stories about being at school and learning these things. I actually had the opportunity. I was in film school in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and I was asked to help with a few interviews with World War II veterans. Okay. And I was like assistant lighting, or just helped.
Wait, how old were they? Wait.
Like 15.
Wait, no, not you, the veterans.
I
was for a second. I was like, what? 1,500? What?
I'm sure they were like in their 80s already.
Okay.
And I remember one of the people that we interviewed, I heard that like a couple of weeks later that he died. So it was, but it was interesting that we actually got to. And what sucks about this has nothing to do with what we're talking about. But what sucks about it is that I was not old enough to appreciate what he was talking about when we were recording
World War II veterans. I saw. I mean, Indiana Jones. I know what's it about. It's driving around tanks.
No, it's
Their
just that
melting.
It's just like I probably would have been way more fascinated hearing what he was saying, because like what I can remember, I was just focusing on getting the lighting right and seeing if the camera was looking okay. But what he was talking about is just how casually he was talking about lots of like really grim things that might have happened, or actually did happen when he was in Europe, and because he's an American soldier, and talking about his experiences.
Do you remember what was his experience? Was he like a D-Day lander, or do you remember any sort of general info?
Unfortunately, I told you, man,
he's just like the lights.
Well, I can actually augment Phil's story, because Phil told me was that the veteran had a booklet, I believe, of translation.
No, that was another old guy that was actually in one of my student films that you'll never get to see, about PTSD, and
why won't we get to see this movie, Phil?
Because it's somewhere on a DVD that I lost.
Oh man. We'll
and
find it.
Well, you gotta find it, Philip. You dug yourself in this hole. You gotta find that DVD.
Oh man,
yeah, we're gonna find that DVD. Wait, did you direct this, write this, or did you just help?
But like it was
for school,
but it wasn't. But like I wasn't involved in post, so it was kind of like whatever. That kind of sucked, because I don't know what the complications was.
Phil wants full control.
Throw them under the bus.
from writing to
everyone
the DVD commentary.
Everyone was great. It was my fault that I didn't understand the context, because I was stupid and shy, and I thought that I can't. Who am I to boss around all these 18 and 25-year-olds?
It's true. They're so big.
I'm directing it. Yeah, that's. I felt like intimidated, but not because of them, because of me. Like I was just like, should I? I probably shouldn't tell. Stuff like that. That was unfortunate. But there's a really nice man, and he was a World War II vet, and he had some booklets are lying around the house, and he let me see some of them, and they were like a German phrase handbook.
Oh, was this from the war? Like he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have a few photos. Yes, man, it was so interesting seeing the pronunciations of like
pronunciations.
An enunciation of the German words, like
yeah. Haben Sie eine Toilette?
Haben Sie
like
ein Frankfurter?
Haben Sie eine Juda?
No, Juhu Jew.
Yoo-hoo Jew.
So Tim, what about you?
I really don't remember, because I think it's like, I was trying to think about, do I remember it sort of in pop culture kind of stuff, Hitler, swastikas, and that kind of thing, or do I remember it from the actual historic stuff, the Holocaust and just the horrors of World War II? And honestly, I don't know, because I was really into encyclopedias and stuff like that, and history books since I was a kid. So as long as I remember myself, what? As long as I remember, I knew about World War II, and I know my mom talking about it, and also both of my grandparents served in World War II. Both in partisan. So our mutual grandpa, he was conscripted for World War II. As a partisan, he was a cook, Dida Joseph, and then my other grandpa. Well, the thing is, the country that I'm living in, that from my mom's side grandparents are, it was a traitorous country, unfortunately. Basically, it was Czechoslovakia for a really long time, and then the president of the Slovakian part, he wanted to get separate from Czechoslovakia, so he made a deal with Hitler that he's going to become a Nazi state, and he can make his own country. So
that's right.
The first Slovakian country ever existed was a Nazi country, and obviously he did it without the people's permission, and everyone hated it. So even though it was like a Nazi country, and whoever didn't want to resist was conscripted into the Nazi army, but most people kind of went partisan, either joined communists or whatever, and went and hide into the hills and fought the Nazi soldiers, which was my grandpa. Wow. So my mom always told stories about how gruesome it was, and he saw his friend die and all that stuff. So I remember that from the beginning. But what I really was asking, I wanted to know, what we talked about before, is that after it happened and people found out what the horrors of World War II, directors and movie makers struggle for like 10, 20 years, to find the right angle, because you want to be serious with it. You don't want to make fun of it. There's families and people who are affected by this. But then I found out, like, after 60s and 70s, I was thinking maybe, gradually it became from more serious to more comical, and you can use Hitler as a character and everything. But it's actually been not a back and forth, but there's always two sides of it. Because after watching this movie, I was actually a little bit angry. It's like, I can't believe we still have to make movies about teaching people that racism is bad. I was like, oh yeah. I was like, why are we still doing this? It's like, it's bad. And then I was thinking, like, like even my country now, like people are still really prejudiced. Like there's elections coming out right now, and I see people on Facebook having to have like a little picture, like a swastika crossed out, like we're against racism, because it's, I do live in Europe, and some of these countries are really like, anti whatever other race.
Xenophobic.
It's just really terrible. And like homophobic and all that stuff, and there's like people marching around, skinheads again, and I'm like, I can't believe we've been through all of this. It's bad. It's like, and it's like, first I was angry that we have to, make these kind of movies that show you realities of humanity and how we're all the same, and how communication and all this stuff changes you, and none of that crazy ideologies matter. But then I was like happy, but I was thinking, like, did it, like, shouldn't we be at this point that we can use Hitler as just a joke, It's just a character, just a little mustache wielding maniac, and just do whatever,
That's
but
really interesting
again,
you said that, because I felt like, to me, this movie, I didn't see it like that. I saw the movie as just using the historical context loosely as a template. That's how I viewed the movie.
Yeah, I meant like in Kung Fuhrer, Hitler he comes back through time and he shoots him through the phone, you know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. Like Hitler is like the laughing stock. He's just this angry little man. I thought we're past that point, but then again, we're not, We still have to teach the new generations or the older generations. I don't know who we're teaching, but it, it's always been like that. Like even like the weird Nazi exploitation movies of the 70s, where it's just like Hitler's like and Nazis are bad guys.
Right.
But then you have, like, what's it called? Schindler's List, at the same time, being made or whatever. These movies going back and forth where you have the serious stuff and then.
Yeah, it's interesting because like I wanted to say like just to continue to finish my thought in reaction to your thought is that honestly for me like the movie really just felt like a film about people, and for me I have to say I really love the movie. To me it was a very beautiful film actually because I really didn't expect it to have that turn in the middle of the film where it really shifted into a very serious actually story, and I really really enjoyed that aspect of it, and I really felt like this is the kind of movie that is very much my kind of movie, a movie I really like because it has those elements that you didn't expect that to go that way. It has this quirkiness, this not cemented reality. All the scenes are really interesting to watch. The language of the characters amongst each other is something that's it takes some time to read the characters and to understand what they're telling each other and why they're saying these things and what they're going through.
Yeah,
that's what makes it so good in my opinion because it's the opposite of on the nose. It's you can read it different ways. How the movie progresses. So
Taika Waititi
that's what I loved about it.
Has a really unique talent that I really appreciate where he can make quirky characters but really give them human kind of weight, even though sometimes they act weird and stuff like that. He really knows how to ground them. I wanted to ask Phil, so spoilers. There, he's like the Nazi fan, Hitler's his best friend, and his mom is kind of first ambiguous. You don't know she's supporting him in it, but turns out she's hiding her missing daughter's friend. She's a Jew, and you kind of find out slowly that she's supporting whatever the resistance or the opposition to the Nazi thing, right? She's against it.
Yeah,
and unfortunately, due to that, she gets hanged.
I was gonna ask you this. Okay, go.
And it's a really interesting way how they handle it, and I really want to know what you thought of that film, and did you expect that scene to pop up when it did? Did you have any?
I wanted to ask you that. I was gonna be like, what did you think of that scene? Because for me, I was like, oh no.
I know. That's why I'm asking you because I thought I want to know your thoughts.
I was like, no. I felt terrible.
When did you realize at the shoes, or were you expecting some dread from the butterfly?
Oh, I didn't even notice the butterfly.
Okay, because I was thinking about it before.
It was because like the shoes and the she always wore that blue.
Yep.
So it's just like, oh man. I was like, oh no.
Because I was thinking before.
It was quite shocking.
It's true. There were actually clues to it because the Stephen Merchant as the Gestapo and his other 7 Gestapos came to raid the house, and at that moment, Captain K and his gay buddy, they're both gay, I think.
I didn't catch that at all.
What the flamboyant?
Well, I just thought
outfits?
I thought he just liked colorful.
Oh, he was like just okay.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure there were like a little bit of parody of the the like super over sexualized. BDSM gay German clubbing culture,
uniform kind of thing.
Yeah, like that whole thing. But anyway, so they come in rushing and they have her bike, which I only put 2 together afterwards. I think they saw her die and then they were like, oh shit, we got to run to Jojo immediately and see what's happening.
I see.
To save the situation.
Oh,
and there was a beautiful shot there after she dies. Is which is another thing that was personal to me because I grew up in Serbia and I visited Slovakia, the northern part of Serbia, which for a long time were Austrian, Hungarian places, and there were a lot of Germans living there. So there's a lot of German architecture. So a lot of these houses they live in is what I'm used to seeing as a child. And those houses with the little eyes looking at them, I've seen that so many times.
And the whole
design and everything. And that was like, I think that hit more even personally when you have the eyes of the buildings looking at the situation.
It was interesting.
It was so sad.
Oh man.
I was also kind of interested in that aspect of where they shot it, and I was wondering, like, this seems really like familiar. Like to me, like this could be, Zagreb or someplace in Austria or something like that. Interestingly enough, I found out where they shot the movie. Did you guys find out?
Where?
Well,
Tell me.
Well, here's the thing. Before you say that,
Okay.
as the movie finished, I was looking at the credits and I saw a lot of Czech names, so I have a suspicion. What is it? What did you find out, Jake?
Yes, it is in Czechia. They filmed, I think, in Prague and I think 3 or 4 other cities and towns.
That's what seemed familiar. It's
that
around
makes sense.
me.
I mean, yeah, you guys know you guys probably can list all the locations where American movies go to film, right?
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is the first one that I noticed is like, oh, they can do that. Is obviously we're all thinking the same thing. Blade. Remember when they filmed in Prague, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
like they can do that. They can shoot movies and in the different country.
Yeah, I wanted to
for
add
obvious cheap reasons.
to your thought. I think for me, that's when the film takes a really, really big turn. Is when the mother dies, and I also didn't expect it at all.
And it's
It turned on us.
it's
Turned on us.
handled in such a way that you never see her face or anything. Like she just like it's
I
it's
sure
very
hoped you did.
dramatic that way.
Yeah.
Is that she disappears, and it's not a dramatic, oh, I'm dying, please take care of my children, over the Hollywood kind of moment. She's like, she's dead, dude. That's it,
Yeah, and I love the way it was handled after that because at that point, everything's up for grabs in terms of you don't know what could happen. I was wondering.
Yeah.
True.
Maybe this is going to be a story that will be very sad. Maybe the main character will die. Maybe the girl will die. I don't know. But again, that's what I liked is that when you get towards the end, and there is, I mean, the soldier captain, right?
Yeah.
Who ultimately gets killed in a firing squad, right?
Yeah.
Saves Jojo. That was a very beautiful, touching moment,
It
honestly.
was nice. Yeah.
Captain K was cool. I think he wasn't.
Yeah.
He wasn't much of a Nazi. I think
But then
he was
it's great because
disappointed in the system.
then towards the end you have again, that hopeful spirit because you have the kid with the glasses who comes in, and then you're thinking maybe he's gonna die. It's gonna be sad, but then no,
I thought he was dead.
survives.
He just says, "I need to go see my mother.
it's
I need some
amazing.
cuddles." Yeah,
It's amazing.
German shepherds.
yeah. I think that's like a nice kind of bow to wrap it up. The war ends, but I think the main story was him growing up. And that was really kind of visually shown with him. Finally learning how to tie his shoelaces. He still couldn't do it when it was his mom died, but sadly the situation kind of forced him to grow up. Sad little boy. Which reminds me of another growing up boy World War II movie. Speaking of Spielberg, Empire of the Sun. I love that
Dude,
movie.
I need to see that.
You still haven't seen it with little Christian Bale?
I have not.
That's a good movie.
I didn't see it either.
All right, so before we wrap up on this little movie,
Give us your best German accents.
Well, can I just ask a final question to you?
Yes.
To you and Phil. I wanted to ask you, Tim, sort of like, kind of after everything has been said, what is your sort of impression about it, given your Taika Waititi history?
I don't know. Even if I didn't have a Taika Waititi history, I think I would love this movie. I think.
Okay, cool.
I think it to me, for this age, it had the perfect recipe, like the perfect ingredients for using World War II as a story. I think I love the fact that Hitler was ridiculed and Nazis were ridiculed in a colorful way. Like the ideology and all that stuff. It was never taken serious because sometimes you would do that for good intentions and just ends up like American History X, where like neo-Nazis love that movie, even though it's like really anti-Nazism, but it was just shown in such a glorious way, ironically, but that doesn't go through their, thick skulls. It's just like, oh, and they'll just watch the curb stomping seen it over and over again. So I
Right.
think this played it that very well, and the emotional journey was amazing, and the actor was all amazing. The kid was
Oh my
great.
goodness, man! I wish the kid would win an Oscar.
The kid was so good. It's just like his accent was perfect. I think Scarlett Johansson's accent was a little bit too much sometimes for me. Like it was a bit too much.
I want to say the accents honestly didn't bother me at all because
Okay.
I didn't look at it like sort of in the sense of do the accents have to fit?
I think there was a movie called Death of Stalin that I really liked, and they did amazing things because it's based in Russia, right? Everyone's Russian, and they're all English actors, so no one's going to speak in Russian. So to avoid that weirdness, because not everyone can do a good Russian accent. Some might do like a really stupid, just like a movie like, and some might be accurate. So they just did everyone
My name
in
is
English.
Boris from
in
the
English-
Golden Finch.
Yes, or like the most annoying thing in GTA 4, like Niko Bellic, right? He's supposed to be from Balkans, either Serbian or Bosnian, whatever, and he has a Russian accent, and I can't stand. Like
Yeah.
every time he'll be
Yeah.
like, he's like, "Oh, I have video," and you're like, hey, "What? He's from the? Why does he?" I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
ran over. It's just-
language roots are not the same.
It's just
They're
like
not the
adding
same.
flavors to the English. But in that movie, Death of Stalin, everyone just speaks in English accents, and it's separated. So let's say Russia's big, and you have different regions. So let's say some are from the city, some are from the country. So they kind of took that and applied it to English accents. So people who were from the city had posh, British accents. People from the country had like Welsh accents or Irish accents, and so kind of it wasn't too much on the nose. And I think that was really clever what they did with that.
Mhm.
But that wouldn't fit really well, maybe, for this movie. I don't know.
Phil, what about your final thoughts?
It's a good movie. I liked it. It was a little touching, a little bit, haunting at the end.
There were
You
some
had to-
tears.
you-
There were some
Dude,
tears on my side.
Yeah,
I almost
yeah.
cried.
Almost. You got
And you
me.
had to sit down and think about it a little bit. As I found out that the older I am, the more movies affect me emotionally. So just gotta sit down and just have a little think about this film. And
What did
good.
you think
Nice.
about? What was racing through your mind as it was finished? What was the prevailing thought?
Yes, good question.
Philip, do you remember?
Good question. Well, that I feel like the general idea is that just that people are people, and I feel like the dehumanization of the Jewish people in movies like this, I felt was the most stuck out part for me.
Okay, like the whole racism thing, right?
Yeah. And
Okay.
I felt like that was something that, it's like you said, Tim, it's really sad that that's still the case, right? Like even today.
Yep. It's insane.
Thank you. I have one final.
You're welcome.
I have one final thing I want
Yes.
to add, which is
Yeah.
I have some trivia.
Okay,
So,
give us your trivia. Jacob.
Did you guys remember at the beginning of the movie there is a Beatles song that plays?
Oh, and it's
I wanna
German.
hold your hand. And I was listening and I was like, is that them? That's them. That has to be them singing that in Germany. In German.
Is it?
It is. So I did some research, and this is according to a website called IamTheBeatles.com.
Mm-hmm.
And it says here, "Komm, gib mir deine Hand." So it says, listen to this. On January 29th, 1964, while the Beatles were in Paris, they recorded two German language renditions of their two most recent singles, I Want to Hold Your Hand and She Loves. Listen to this now. Most groups during this time were required to record their hits in European languages. But after recording these two songs, the Beatles said, never again.
Wait, so they probably had it like recorded phonetically?
I don't know, but I don't know the lyrics, how they translated, but it is them, and that's their German version of the song.
Yeah.
So I found
That's
that very
perfect.
fascinating. Yeah,
That's
I think
perfect
it's great
because
they put that
fit.
in.
It fit really well because it was like just juxtapositioning the Beatlemania with like Hitler
in the
mania
West.
as well.
Yeah,
So in the end, was the David Bowie song also?
yeah. I wanted to ask if you guys did any research on that. But
No, I didn't.
No.
I believe it was
that's-
actually the song was also sung by David. Do you guys remember what the song name was? Hero, I think it
Yeah.
was. I think this. I don't know. I'm not a good David Bowie catalog man, but
Yeah.
I think
Guys, I'm not a good music any man.
I think the song was in German, wasn't it? Or no?
It was in German. Like the last song was also in German. It was like a song I recognized. Oh, like was it David Bowie
originally?
Song?
Yeah.
Let me see.
Because it says no, it is David Bowie's song because it says it was part of his Berlin period. So I'm guessing maybe he recorded in German. But the real David Bowie
as opposed to the blues period, it's the Berlin period.
the Lion's Den period.
Because I'm googling, it says David Bowie Hero German version. So I don't know. People who are David Bowie fans, please.
Yeah, just David Bowie held them.
Because we could be butchering this history.
Oh, yeah, let us know. But what I'm looking is wait. So the final song, Jojo Rabbit's Heroes by David Bowie, the first time plays film's ending. Blah 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 blah. The German version sung by Bowie himself. Yep,
there you go. Cool.
Perfect. That's a great idea.
Great.
So anyway,
in this section,
great movie. Speaking of music, so we did a survey before this this season or whatever year ended. Oh, by the way, the Bagarinos, they're on their way. We had some issues, some technical issues, but they're on their way. So don't worry about that if you haven't received your Bagarino. Goddamn pilot. So in this survey we asked about, do you like the music?
I love the pilot.
And a lot of you voted no, that you skip over it and stuff like that. So we're thinking of, do we cancel the music in the middle of the podcast? But the thing is, all three of us really love that section. And I don't know.
No, yeah.
I don't know why you guys don't like it. So I guess skip over if you have to.
You have chapters, you can skip it. You're missing out on great music.
I don't know. I think it's refreshing. A little break. Find out some new music maybe that you haven't heard. So
you never know. I mean, I would say treat it like a those late night talk shows, right? They put music up and just treat it like that. You want to check it out?
Just a little break. Think about the movie. Think about I don't know. Think about your life.
Yeah, like I'm thinking if you're walking around, commuting, whatever. I mean, what's the harm in a 2-3 minute song? Maybe
you get a free song,
guys. I think it's okay. I think just a few people probably said they didn't like it, but
I'm just saying I'm apologizing to the people who didn't like it, but it stays.
We're not apologizing. We're just saying that
it stays.
We dig it. So
case closed.
We think it's cool. Did it. So Johnny,
we did it, team.
Why don't you play us off, buddy? Diggy. That was Sun by Lucy Gootch from her release Rushing. And I love the song. It is atmospheric. It's chill. It gives you space for thoughts. There's a pulse to it. I like it. What do you guys think?
I think it's great. It reminded me of the opera scene in Revenge of the Sith, Star Wars Episode 3. Where Palpatine...
How does that one go?
Well, Palpatine is telling Anakin about the dark side, and it's just a really
do you know the tale of...
Yes. Darth Plagueis. Yeah, I don't know. Plagueis? I don't remember.
Frodo.
And there's music, and it's just like, whoa. Exactly, that's true. That's the music. There you go. It's really nice. Really nice.
Bubble
nice,
concert.
chill, relaxing.
Thank you. Well, not me. I'm not thanking you as me. I'm thanking to the artist for the song. So, let's move ahead. Let's move ahead to our second. Yes, Jacob. Oh, yes. You have a story, Jacob?
Yes, it's not a story.
You have a story to tell.
So,
he wants to tell.
Jacob, tell us a story. Tell the story.
So Paul and I got an Xbox One.
Oh, yes, you did.
Nice.
The story is that we got a trial of Game Pass. For those of you who know what that is, I learned about it recently.
Have you heard the tale of Game Pass?
Yeah, it lets you, which is cool. It's a cool thing. You can subscribe and you can download games. It changes every month, I believe.
Some remain, but I guess 15% change.
And so we got Forza.
So it's like a Netflix for Xbox?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's great.
I think they have.
Speaking of which, I don't want to interrupt, but guess what? Everyone living in America and Canada, we get Studio Ghibli movies now on Netflix.
Oh, we do?
Oh.
Yeah, Tim, you can check it out.
I'll check them out. There's a few I haven't watched yet.
Wait,
is Ghibli with the testicle squirrels?
Yes, the testicle raccoon dogs. Man, I hope they're going to show those.
Which movie is that?
Pompoko.
Okay, I haven't seen that.
It's hilarious.
So on this Game Pass, there's a game called Forza Horizon, which we downloaded, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've been racing. I've been
racing.
Tim, I've been beating racing. Your ghost self.
I know. I'm not a very good racer, so
well, I'm not amazing,
surprised.
But it's fun to learn. And this is my story, right? Okay. So in the game, you get this default car. It's like the Audi TT something.
You get to choose, don't you? Like there's 3 cars you get to choose from.
Tim, me and you both picked the same car.
Oh, because the Audi, German made. Yeah. Just got to go for the quality.
I was like, that one looks cool, looks fast, and it runs great.
Yeah.
And in the game, I'm thinking, I did a couple of races, and I'm thinking to myself, I have money now in the game. I'm going to buy a new car, right? I'm scrolling through the charts, and I'm thinking to myself, wait a second. Ford v Ferrari. And then I find the Ford GT.
Oh,
remember the one?
Yeah.
It's the GT 500, but it looks really similar.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's probably the one. Ken Miles.
What a man.
Right.
What a man.
Buy it, and I'm thinking to myself, dude, this is great.
I am Ken
my
Miles
opportunity to beat Ken Miles on the road in England in Forza Horizon.
Back to his roots. Oh, my beer.
So turns out the car is crap. Because it's super heavy, handles terribly, and it takes so much time for it to pick up speed.
Did you tune it?
Forever. Huh?
Did you tune
listen
it?
to this then. Then I go to the workshop, and I'm like, hey man, soup me up that engine and other things to get my acceleration to be boosted up so I can just, get the speed I need like the Audi. Turns out it didn't fix anything. It goes faster now. It accelerates faster, but the handling is awful.
How do they win Le Mans?
Heavy.
You're not. You're just not Ken Miles. You are not.
Exactly, and that's my question. So now I'm driving the Audi again. So
let me give you a tip about Forza. Since I'm a terrible racer, I did everything except doing the races. So I did all the stunt jumps. I'd explored everything. But
of course
I've made my money. Because there's these little challenges they give you. It's like you have to find old barns with old shitty cars in them. Did you ever do those? I forgot what's it called, but basically they ring you up. They're like, oh, somewhere on this map there's a barn and there's like an old abandoned car. If you find it, we'll fix it up and you can keep it. So I've been doing those. And then some of them are like legendary cars, which I don't know about, so I don't care. But some were like super legendary, and you can sell them for a really good price, so they can buy some new cars. But one of them was, I don't know what the brand is. It's like a racing UK car from like the 70s or something like that, or 80s maybe. I don't know. It looks wonky, but I got that car from the little treasure hunt things, and then I souped that beast up. It's better than any car I have. That thing is amazing. Because it really depends on the weight and also on the handling. Because what I did, I bought, I think it was like a smart car or something, one of those tiny cars, right? In Forza. And I was like, I bought that car. I was like, I'm going to invest all the money and just like soup it up to the max.
Oh, like 100%.
Like 100%. Like give it like the boost. The dumbest idea ever. It's so strong right now. You hit gas, it just flies off the road. It's just, you can't do anything. It's
Really?
It's impossible to drive. It's just like,
I didn't even know that was possible in these games.
you just drive, and then you do a slight adjustment of your wheel, and it just was gone,
Dude.
into space. So yeah, don't do that. Don't put like a tiny by tiny car and then put like a humongous powerful engine and turbo in it. Absolutely. It was just like, it's just disaster area. Okay, boys. So let's get on to the second movie of the night.
Also in grayscale, by the way.
Also in grayscale. It's true. It's an old movie, and it's well, I got a lot to introduce this movie. Well, one thing is that this was one of my favorite movies when I was a kid.
Really?
What?
I watched this movie many times. It wasn't. We had this on a VHS, and it's one of those old school VHS that you record from TV, and you record the movie and put it on the VHS, and you can watch it. And it's one of the earliest movies I remember us having. And I remember I didn't, when I was a little kid, I was too long and too boring for me. Some parts were funny, Charlie Chaplin, whatever that. But then I think from like maybe 7, 8 to 9, that was like one of the best movies ever. Because I told you guys, like, up until The Matrix, like my barometer, like what's a good movie was, is it funny, and this was a funny movie. So I loved it. And I'm wondering, maybe this is how my first encounter with World War II.
That might be. I can't believe it. This is interesting. This is very interesting.
So, and I haven't seen a movie since then. So this was a very interesting experience for me to watching it after so many years when I was a kid, didn't understand English, didn't understand anything about World War II, and watching it a lot because, it's funny.
Just give us the lowdown.
Yeah. So, and just to give a little brief history of this movie. So this movie was done by Charlie Chaplin. He wrote and directed it. It was his first talking movie, so which is interesting.
Oh. Okay.
He made this movie. Well, he wrote it a year before World War II started, and he filmed it right at the moment World War II started, and he finished it half a year. So it came out in 1940, so which is a year into the war. Well, half a year into the war. So that's also very interesting. So he saw, he made this before he knew about the truth about the concentration camps and everything like that. So it's pre-war, it's very satirical. And the inspiration came from, he saw, what was that movie? Triumph of the Will?
Triumph of the Wills?
Yeah.
Triumph of the Will, not Wills.
Will. That was the propaganda movie by the lady director for Hitler. And he saw it and he just found it really hilarious, just the way Hitler speaks. And then, he obviously noticed, because people at the time were making these jokes because, they both, Charlie Chaplin's main character, the Tramp, which was in his previous movies, the silent era, physical comedy movies, the Tramp was his main character. And he was a small little dude with a mustache, very similar to Hitler. And, the coincidences of they kind of, came about after World War One, both of them, and rose to power. One in entertainment America, one in politics in Germany. So people even at a time, like contemporaries, drew parallels to that and make jokes about that. So I guess he was like, I have to use this. I have to make a movie about this. And it was like, it was even before the war. He never knew to what degree the World War II is going to become.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Yeah.
And he still made the movie. So we watched The Great Dictator by Charlie Chaplin. It was
That's
made
right,
in
we did.
1940. And it's the Charlie Chaplin plays two of the main characters. One is Hinkle, which is a parody of Hitler, and one is a Jewish barber living in, oh crap, I forgot what the fake country is.
I think it was like
Normandia, something weird.
Olivia.
In Germany, and the Jewish barber is kind of a version of the Tramp character, but he talks.
I wanted to ask you guys, like,
right?
If you followed that, easily, because I didn't really. It was kind of hard to follow. Like, how did that work? The two characters.
Yeah, they're just two different characters.
Yeah, it's just a coincidence. They look like each other. Yeah. The Tramp looks like Hitler. Hitler looks like Trump, and they use. Well, the funny thing is that, like, what I found out, that how Charlie Chaplin shoots his movies is very like 12-year-old Phil. Is that, especially the silent stuff, he didn't have a script. He would just have a rough idea what he wanted to do, and then he would just go film it. And like, he would write the story as he's filming it. Like, he would think of a funny gag, and he's like, okay, then we have to shoot the stuff before, so this makes sense. So I don't know how much of that is. I think this one, since it was talking, you had to have a script, so I think it was a bit. But some of the story, how it progresses, it does make me think like, oh, maybe this was like thought of on the spot. But anyway, so this is the movie. I want to ask you guys: did you guys watch Charlie Chaplin movies as a kid? What was your awareness of him and his movies?
All right. Well, as for me, this will come to a shock to everybody here listening. I have never seen a Charlie Chaplin film all the way through until today.
Me neither.
Well, congratulations, sir.
I've known about Charlie Chaplin since I was a very small child. I've known the iconography, the mustache, the cane, the slacks, or whatever you call those pants, really.
Most kids probably thought that is Charlie Chaplin, the Tramp. Like, that's a synonymous. That is, that's right. How he walks around.
I've seen his daughter in different movies, but I've never seen his movies. In fact, I've seen his daughter as a gypsy lady in The Wolfman from 2010's The Wolfman with Benicio del Toro.
Yeah, she is.
And she's in other movies like Dr. Zhivago and everything like that.
Yeah.
But I've never seen. Never seen.
What do you
never seen?
What is Charlie Chaplin's most famous? Is this the most famous, or what is some of his famous?
I think because
Modern Times,
first talking movie. Yeah, Modern Times, The Kid. Those are like the big ones, and then he did like a lot of them before, which was like short little movies, which is like the Tramp characters main, just running around, like less heart, more comedy kind of stuff. Like I remember, like on TV, it was always on. Like you always bump into like a Charlie Chaplin, like a. I guess I don't remember watching them now, so I don't know if there were skits, short movies, series. I don't know. It was just like Charlie Chaplin's like looking for some girl and some fat guys chasing him. Yeah, it's usually and there's like some acrobatics going on, chasing and people hitting each other. Which as was far as films also in here in this movie as well. A little bit of that. Yeah, a little bit of hit on the head. Okay, so what about you, Jacob? Any Charlie Chaplin? Nothing?
No, honestly, like I just have vague memories of just hearing about Charlie Chaplin, and sort of like he was a famous slapstick-ish comedian, and he always had that mustache. And I remember, when I was very little, I was confused sometimes between like the Hitler mustache and the Charlie Chaplin mustache, and then those two things.
Was Charlie Chaplin Hitler? What's going on?
Yeah, stuff like that. But that's about it.
Oh, really? Oh, it's okay. So you didn't grow up watching it. Because here's the weird thing. I think it's also that I found out it's like an America thing, because basically after his silent era movies, he was kind of outspoken about like the way U.S. was heading, and was criticizing the politics, like capitalism and stuff like that. So the FBI was actually had like a kind of a strategy against him, and they basically labeled him as a communist and enemy of the country. So he actually ran away from U.S. And he kind of remained in Europe for most of the time until I think like before his death, he gave like the honorary award at the Oscars. The Academy gave him, so he came back to accept it. But
that's so weird.
So I think in Europe, I think it's more of like tradition or something like that. That's like considered classic, comedy, like Charlie Chaplin, then Mr. Bean, and all that stuff. That's like a Europe experience, as opposed to American. I think you guys just like watch. I don't know, what do you watch? What's in America? Like what's a classic comedy? Like
Harold Lloyd,
brothers.
Laurel and Hardy,
Phil and Jake.
No,
Marx Brothers. maybe.
Oh, the
Okay,
Marx
yeah, yeah.
Brothers.
American
Yeah,
equivalent.
yeah. But they weren't silent. They were
No.
always
They talked.
They were talkies.
Yeah. It's actually
So,
pretty
yeah.
fun, man. I hope we can bring some Marx Brothers.
Dude, I would love to watch
Movie.
the Marx Brothers.
I know
So-
nothing of the Marx Brothers, so
Oh
I'm
man.
curious to
'Cause
see.
we
what
used
is
to
this
see
one.
them. We used to watch them. We used to rent the DVDs from the library, and we were like, "What are
Mhm.
these guys?" The Marx Brothers. Honestly, we were laughing pretty hard. I think
It's pretty good.
when we
Well,
saw
here's
it back
my
then. So I'll be
question.
curious to see. You know,
Here's my question to both of you: What did you laugh in this movie?
Oh yeah.
I'm
think-
serious. I'm serious. Did you? I don't know. I just like I know I've seen
like-
this as a kid so many times,
Yeah.
but I was actually laughing pretty hard because there's a lot of
Really?
jokes that I didn't know, like the fake German stuff, like all the stuff he says in there. I almost died laughing because I had that memorized, like his fake German speech. Like I knew that.
Wiener Schnitzel. Wiener Schnitzel.
Yeah,
Cheese
the
and
Marx
crackers.
Brothers, yeah.
And in the banana business. Oh, banana. Oh, the banana. On the banana. It just made me think of the dub. Yeah, he's taking the banana. But like just hearing all that stuff. And there's a lot of hilarious jokes in there. Like just
So
like
do you think
breaking
that
the
you were
fourth wall.
laughing? Probably more.
You know, when the Italian
cinema
guy
or
comes
more?
in.
Oh yeah, yes. That's like that. Like I knew, like I didn't understand English back then. It was just physical, like the movements, all the stuff. Like the funniest part to me was like when he's in the World
I
War
can
I.
see the influence of Tim's acting that Chaplin had on Tim's.
channeled.
He's channeled it on at
Channeled,
certain
but-
points.
To me when I was a kid, the funniest part was the beginning when he's like, I would watch that like strictly. That was like my part when he's in World War I and first they're operating the big gun.
Mhm.
And then the
Oh, yeah,
false
yeah.
shell falls down. It's
Oh
following
yeah,
him.
yeah.
That was
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
that was like, and then also he's operating the anti-aircraft thing. He's just like moving
That was
around.
perfect.
Or what
That-
about the upside down?
Oh yeah,
that
the
was
plane.
great.
That was a
The
the Looney
classic
Tunes
trick.
Looney Tunes trick. That was all good stuff, but like there's a lot of like subtle stuff that I didn't know like later on. Let me try to think. What was the stuff that I didn't notice? Like the when he's first you see Hinkle and he's doing a speech and there's a translation. And you're like, and the translation is being
Oh,
like
yeah,
super
yeah, yeah,
nice,
yeah.
and then you have like, and then the other announcer is like, oh, this translation's been provided by a representative chosen by Hinkle. Like all those like meta jokes that were political
Yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah.
I never knew that. That's like that was all new to me right now.
So
It's
what
so
else
true.
you,
Like I thought that was like there's a lot of things that you think that people made up in more modern times, but then you look at this and you're like, these guys are the progenitors. They're the ones
Yeah.
who
the
started it.
classics.
They're the ones who invented these things.
There was a lot like absurdist like stuff that you see in Naked Gun or like Hot Shots and
Right.
Top Secret, like that kind of parody humor. Like I don't know what he says, like do you know blah blah blah, and he's like who, like these jokes, like literal comedy stuff that maybe like from silent era didn't exist there, but I wasn't expecting it so early in movies, so I was pleasantly surprised as far as the jokes. So what do you guys think of
Yeah.
the movie, Jacob?
Phil? Oh, Jacob.
Yeah.
Oh, you want me to talk or who?
Yeah. I don't know. To be honest, I guess like I think I had a bit of a difficult time.
Oh
watching
really?
it. Yeah. I think maybe because for me, sometimes older films like this in such a different, era and time and how it's made and how the movie flows and how it's shot and how the dialogue is delivered and all these different elements. I don't know. I guess sometimes like when you're so used to watching stuff that's come after, that's built upon this, the predecessors, everything that's sort of like came afterwards is very different. It's all like sort of I would consider like advanced. Everything is changed and developed in its own specific way, and then you have branches off and genres and different things like that, and even comedy too. And so yeah, it was honestly kind of a little bit hard to sort of like get into it, if I'm honest. So it was because of that, because of that sort of historical film context.
Gotcha.
What about you, Phil?
Gotcha.
I I don't know. I was comfortable watching it. I thought it was very funny. I was always waiting for the next setup and payoff. And I'm afraid, Jacob, I don't share your difficulties in
No.
watching old films. And I
I
might have
know.
when I was younger, but now I
Yeah.
feel like this is.
Yeah.
I like watching older films and watching them in as honestly as I can, and
Right.
and then there's a lot of value you can get from it because they, in this case, what I liked the most about this was that what I got from it was, in comparison to Jojo Rabbit,
Mhm.
which felt more like a personal story between individuals and the situation around it. It
Yeah.
felt like this one, to me, at least, when I was watching more and more of it, of The Great Dictator,
Mhm.
I think it gave more of a humanity to the people in it
Mhm.
in general, and I felt that's
Okay,
what I
yeah.
got from it, and I feel like it painted in, because there's lots of there's a lot of similar things with this and Jojo Rabbit, because this also deals with
Right.
marginalization and
Yeah. I mean, it's World War II, and it also like has Hitler really character, like a caricature as well.
Characterized,
It's
yeah.
like he's never really serious,
Yeah.
and never. And the crazy thing is, this is made like as Hitler's in power. It's everything's happening.
That was what I found fascinating, though. Yeah.
Hinkle.
so it was a contemporary parody.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy to think about that as you're watching it, but also like feel like it was good seeing it. Like you Jacob, you say you're used to the more kind of hoed in, kind of chiseled away, direct kind of approach,
think it
and
also
it's
depends-
interesting
Mhm.
to see it in the raw state, like when you're figuring
Yeah.
things out. Like it's such an interesting to observe it. Trying
I
new things. out.
agree with that, but I think also maybe, to be honest, like in this specific context, maybe it was because it was very closely related in terms of the context. Like we had Jojo,
Oh, okay, yeah. Compared
was
to that, I see what
World
you
War
mean.
II, Hitler, a very specific flavor style, and then we come back here, and again we're covering the same context. And I think maybe
Yes.
that's what maybe sort of made it more difficult. Whereas I feel like maybe if we were, I don't know, reviewing a totally different film
Mhm.
from this era that was totally different context, I think maybe then it would have been a different opinion. Because I
Gotcha.
remember watching, let's say, as a kid, me and Phil, we used to watch a lot of, well, not a lot, but a couple of old black and white films that were sort of like seminal works. Like, I don't know, like think of Dracula. I remember distinctly watching Dracula.
Well, I wouldn't consider Dracula seminal, but sure.
Really?
I don't know. It was
thought it
like
is.
B movies, man, back then.
Oh, okay. Well,
Oh no! I'm gonna defend Dracula.
listen, wait,
I'm
wait,
gonna
wait,
say
wait,
that
no,
was
no,
not
no.
a B movie.
Well, no,
That
I'm
was-
not gonna say-
Dracula was a
Dracula
seminal
was a
movie.
B-movie, man.
Listen.
It wasn't.
was a
B movies are
seminal
about
movie
exploit. Okay, go on.
in the horror golden
Genre,
age.
yes.
Yeah, horror golden age genre. More
Well-
so than The Mummy. I didn't like Mummy at all. The
Well, no,
old- But
no,
anyway.
I know what you mean, but like I thought you were going to talk about like Casablanca or something like that.
Okay, yes. I
But
know.
Casablanca was like
I
in the
need to see that
40s.
one.
This
Well,
Dracula
you're talking about Bela Lugosi?
31.
31,
Yeah.
yeah.
Pull the strings. Okay.
Anyway, so anyway, that's my opinion. Let's go
That's
on.
it. No,
Children of the
that's
Night.
cool. That's cool. I was just wondering because like I seen the movie so many times, so it's a very
Yeah.
different experience. I just wondered if it connected to you at all. Like,
Mm.
like as I was watching it, there's besides the humor stuff that I noticed, I was watching it sort of like from a technical point of view as well.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed
What'd you
their
see, huh?
work.
What'd you see? What'd you see?
Well, the thing is, like, as I was watching as a kid, you don't notice these things. So I didn't notice all the projections, on the backgrounds.
Yeah.
So that was
Wait,
amazing.
what?
Just like realize, well, as a kid,
like,
oh,
you
yeah,
see
yeah.
that.
The trains,
You believe it
I
all.
remember
It's
the
real.
trains.
The trains, the amazing. Like this is so good. Like a lot of the backgrounds are like, there's like when they're in ostrich, and it's like the the background, the idyllic background of the vineyard. It's just a projection, And like as a kid, I
was?
saw that. Yeah, man.
Well,
And
What?
then what? And then I love I love the blocking so much. It's like it's so nice when you don't watch like a bullshit run of the mill modern movie where they cut every 2 seconds and there's like
Yeah, it
so much
sucks, man.
coverage and it's like they have like 4 different angles and it just goes like, and it's like, oh, here's a shot, like, and it goes into a close up, then moves out, and then shows you the story and everything, and it's just like, pan to the right and left, and like, it's so nice. It's so nice to watch a movie like that.
It's nice. I love that stuff, man. I mean, of course, no wonder you love Alfonso Cuarón's movies.
Yeah, it's just like it's so refreshing. It's like and I don't mind fun editing. It's just that when it's like needless editing, which is just like, oh, cut back to this guy. It's like, you don't have to do that. Just think about your movie.
Totally. I totally agree with you, Tim. I think that the more I watched older movies, even when I was younger, when I was like a teenager and stuff, and the more I saw how they actually paid attention to the frame, using the frame for a movie is something that is a creative effort as well. And I feel like that's kind of lost these days. And it's kind of lost these days, the kids making the movies with the close-ups.
Kids, they always, the MTV generation.
The MTV generation.
Damn kids.
The MTV generation has already kids.
And then they're close-ups,
cutting so hard.
And they're cutting all over the place, and you can't really, you don't know where you are. You don't know where you are. I just, am I in Germany or am I in...
That's true.
Am I in Moldova?
This is disorienting.
Contemporary, and then the TikToks. All I knew with the TikTok was the clock. They don't know what clock is. They just look at phone.
but yeah, the composition in the frame is a lost art in certain ways. Like, I mean, it just depends on the movie, but there is something really nice when you actually put effort into compositing the frame within the aspect ratio as well, and
use the fact that you can move the camera, not just like another weird like jerking off Michael Bay move where it's like, oh, look at this,
where
cool.
everything's moving all the time.
It's like the story, and you can reveal stuff. It's great, So that's pretty good. I think Johnny's messaging me something. God damn,
Johnny, come on,
Johnny. Johnny's wife is calling. I think he needs to go home.
Johnny has a wife?
I didn't know that.
Oh, you guys weren't invited to the wedding? What?
No. Oh, he's getting married.
Well, it was me and Johnny previously worked on this project. I can't remember, so maybe it was back then. I don't know. But so before we wrap up, so Johnny can go. I think the wife is pregnant. I don't know. He was talking about something. I can't. It's weird. No, he is married. But I don't know. It doesn't matter. So I wanted to ask you guys, will you, after seeing this, watch any more Charlie Chaplin movies?
Yes.
You want to check out some
That's a good
stuff?
question.
I want to see more of Charlie Chaplin.
You know what? I will also say
he's a
yes,
great storyteller.
because I would like to see, like I said, a movie that's in a different context. I think maybe then I feel like I'll be more into it. So, yes.
Jacob's sick of Hitler.
Yeah, I'm just sick of him.
I'm a little sick of Hitler too. It's been a rough week with Hitler.
Too much, yeah. It's a week with Hitler. Yeah. Hopefully you'll get to watch this movie again and maybe enjoy it as much as I do because of the hilarious comedy.
What about you, Tim? Are you going to watch more?
What, more Hitler?
No. 9 more.
9.
No, I think I want to revisit because this was a pleasant experience seeing. Like it's like when you watch something as a kid and then you watch it as a grown up. You're like you're missing half of the fun.
Yeah, but I want to say, are you going to see more Charlie?
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, like more Charlie. Revisit some of my childhood memories of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Good.
So Phil, before when I told you we're going to watch. You said, "Oh, I didn't watch that movie, The Great Dictator, but you did see the ending speech." So I'm wondering, seeing the end speech, did your theory how we're going to get to the ending speech, was it correct, or was it? What did you think? How we're going to get to that point?
No, because I watched the ending speech. I don't know where I watched. I watched it on YouTube at some point a couple of years ago. Not even a couple of years ago, like 10 years ago. And I mean, I liked the speech, absolutely, but.
Did you? How did you think we're going to get to that?
I thought because I didn't know there were two characters that Charlie was playing. I didn't know it was two people in that Charlie was playing, and they both look identical. So I thought that the dictator would get some kind of change of heart.
Okay.
And I thought the whole movie was actually just him dictating, just telling people what to do, and then realizing that it's all bad, and then at the end he has the revelation. That's what I thought.
Okay, well, there you go. I like the speech. I think there's an amazing point where he makes his choice of words as very German and his reminiscence of a Hitler speech at one point. I was really it was really
Oh,
interesting.
yeah,
how it
yeah, for
developed
sure.
that, like,
And what I liked about it is, I don't know, Tim, you probably caught this because you watched this enough times, but
who knows? Maybe
where he says like at the beginning of the speech, he's like, I don't talk normally.
Oh, okay. No, I did not catch that.
It was. I felt that was kind of meta. I think that was on purpose.
Yeah, I think Charlie's a genius. I don't know. I guess that's it, boys. Unless you have anything to say.
Boys and girls.
Yeah, boys and girls. Nothing.
Welcome.
Jake's?
We're back. Twofold is back. We're gonna do more next time.
Yeah, Twofold forever. Twofold, 20 more seasons. 20 more seasons of Twofold. Twofold merchandise. Twofold.
We're going to be talking about World War II movies this entire year.
Yeah, to the 2020 Hitler year.
I think we're going to cover World War II. I think in the future, just that's it.
It might be. It might.
That's what's
There's
called
a lot of World War II
Twofold.
movies.
World War
It's true.
Twofold.
Yeah, exactly.
Zweifold.
Zweifold in der Stücken.
So yeah, everyone, welcome to season 2. Thank you for joining us and listening.
Bratwurst gesagt haben. Und gewusst
Anything you want to say to the listeners before we sign off?
No, I'm happy to be here.
I'm too.
Next week is Jake week, so
That's true.
We'll
Yep.
see what he preps for us. I don't think
He's
we
going to
have
pick Sonic the Hedgehog.
any- Right.
All right. See you later.
Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.